Good morning children and welcome to the SSC class. This is class 7th, chapter 2, History, and the name of the chapter is New Kings and Kingdoms. This is our lecture 4 of this chapter and it is our summary lecture in which we will summarize all the topics done in lecture 1 to 3. Means we will recapitulate the topics there. So listen carefully so that you can understand the chapter well. Now firstly the topics that we have covered in this chapter, they are New Kings and Kingdoms. As we talked that the chapter is New Kings and Kingdoms. Next is how did new kingdoms emerge? Means how did they come in exist? The next is administration in these new kingdoms. Next, taxes of that time, means those kingdoms, how were they collecting taxes? What type of taxes they were collecting? Next is main use of resources in the kingdoms. Means whatever the resources they were getting from the taxes, where were they using them? Next is prasastis and grants of land. Next, warfare for wealth. And next is Chola dynasty. Under Chola dynasty, we will learn about different aspects that we have already covered in lecture number 3. Now let's start with the topics. The first topic, as we talked about, how did the new kingdoms they come in exist? If we talk about the new kingdoms, those emerged there after 7th century. The kingdoms those came in exist after 7th century, they were Palas, Rashtrakutas, Gurjar Pratiharas, Cholas, Chahamanas, etc. If we talk about the location of these kingdoms, you can see the map. There you can identify the location of these kingdoms. So if you talk about Rashtrakutas, they were present there in western Deccan. Deccan part of India, in western part of Deccan, the location of Rashtrakutas. Gurjar Pratihara, if we talk about, the Gujarat and Rajasthan part, they were having. Chahamanas or Chahamanas were known as Chauhans also. They were having the control on Delhi and Ajmer. Palas, they were there in Bengal. Cholas, they were centered there in Tamil Nadu. But the Cholas famous kings like we have done, Rajaraja I and Rajendra I, they expanded their kingdom. So we'll talk about it later on. Now let's start with different topics. So these were the new kingdoms, those emerged after 7th century. How did new kingdoms emerge? Means how did they come in exist? The first one, the new rulers were big landlords or warriors working under the existing kings as subordinate or samantas. It means the new kings, those came in exist, they were working under the existing kings, means those were already present. So they were working as samantas or subordinate under those kings. And they became powerful there and they declared themselves as independent lords. So this was the procedure how the new kingdoms emerged. So firstly they were working under the existing kings as subordinates or samantas. Samantas, as we have done earlier also, the common definition that was they are in 6th standard. Samantas were military leaders basically. Those were providing troops to the rulers. Here they had the more powers. Now they declared themselves to be Mahasamantas. When they became powerful, they declared themselves as Mahasamantas and Mahamandaleshwaras. So they had been given these titles to themselves and then they declared themselves as independent lords of their kingdom. So this is the way they identified the new kingdoms there, and they declared themselves as independent lords. Now some of the examples we are having here. First, Danti Durga. Danti Durga, the Rashtrakuta chief, overthrew his Chalukya overlord. It means Danti Durga, who was the working or who was Samantas under Chalukya's overlord, means he was subordinate of Chalukyas, and then he declared himself the independent lord and Rashtrakuta chief he was. So in this way Rashtrakuta kingdom that came in exist. So this was one of the example. The next one, Kadamba Mayurashram and Gurjar Pratihara Harichandra. They also established their kingdom in Karnataka and Rajasthan respectively. Kadamba Mayurashram and Gurjar Pratihara Harichandra, they established their kingdoms in Karnataka and Rajasthan respectively. So this is the another example. Next thing, if we talk about Danti Durga, the ritual performed by Danti Durga when he declared himself the independent lord. Danti Durga, the Rashtrakuta chief, performed a ritual known as Hiranyagarbha. It was thought that after performing ritual, they became Kshatriya. As they were thinking that after performing Hiranyagarbha, whether anyone who was not Kshatriya by birth even, after performing this ritual, they declared themselves as Kshatriya. In the same way, Danti Durga also performed that Hiranyagarbha and declared himself Kshatriya. In this way, he declared himself ruler of Rashtrakuta and he became the independent lord. The another example, as we have done about Kadamba Mayurashram and Gurjar Pratihara, they were basically Brahmins by birth. The another example how they declared themselves, that was Kadamba Mayurashram and Gurjar Pratihara, they were Brahmins by birth. They established their kingdom by using their military skills. As we talked that Samantas were military leaders. So they established their kingdoms by using their military skill. Otherwise by birth they were Brahmins. So these were different rituals or different activities they performed to declare themselves as independent lords. Now the next topic is administration in new kingdoms. Means the new kingdoms, those came in exist. What type of administration was there? Many of the kings adopted titles like Maharaja Dhiraj and Tribhuvan Chakravartin. Tribhuvan Chakravartin means Lord of Three Worlds. So these type of titles they were using. If you remember Maharaja Dhiraj, we have already done there in Gupta Empire. So these were titles they were using for showing their power. The next one, they shared their power with Samantas as well as with association of peasants, traders and Brahmins. Means its meaning is some of the powers they had been given to themselves. Most of the powers were with them, but some of the powers they shared with Samantas and associations of peasants, traders and Brahmins. So this was the administrative system of those new kingdoms. Next thing, if we talk about the taxes. Here the two main taxes were defined. The first one was Veti. It was taken in the form of forced labor, not in form of cash or revenue. So Veti was the tax that was taken in the form of forced labor. It was not in the form of revenue. The second main tax that was there, it was Kadimai, and it was revenue. It was in the form of revenue. So traders were paying revenue. So these two main taxes they were collecting from the people. And out of these two, though these both are important, but another some taxes those they were collecting, the some part from other taxes like thatching the house. It means they were collecting some taxes there at the time of building of houses. Then assess on succession of family property. Here assess means a levy or a type of tax that was collected at the time of succession to family property, means transfer of from family property. So these some small taxes they were collecting, but main taxes were two. They were Veti and Kademai. So this was the procedure of tax in New Kingdoms. Now how the resources, those they were getting from taxes and different rents, they were using them. The next is main uses of resources in the kingdoms. Whatever they were having resources, where they were spent, they spent them. So the first one, finance establishment, means for showing off, for doing different tasks in the kingdoms. And the second one, construct temples. It was really very important task done by those kings, because they were showing their power by constructing different beautiful temples. That was center of attraction actually. Even the different rulers, whenever they were attacking on others' region, they attacked on the temples. So it was the main source of showing off their power. And the next, where they were using resources, that was fight war. Different wars were fought among those new kingdoms. So in this way they were using their resources. Now the next topic is prasastis. Prasastis, that is Sanskrit word, and its meaning itself is in praise of. So prasastis were composed by learned Brahmins in praise of the rulers. Means the learned Brahmins, those who were there in their courts, they were writing in praise of the rulers. It was used to depict the rulers as valiant and victorious warriors. Here the depict means to show, and rulers as valiant. Valiant means full of courage. So they were writing there in those prasastis about their bravery, about their courage, about their different tasks those they were doing in kingdom. So only in praise of the rulers they were writing. Whatever the rulers wanted to see, they were writing that same one. That sometimes it might not be correct, but they were writing in praise of the rulers only. So the prasastis were composed by learned Brahmins in praise of the rulers, and it was used to depict, to show the rulers as valiant and victorious warriors. One of the example given there in your book, it is prasastis that was written by Kalhan, and Kalhan wrote that prasasti in Sanskrit, and it was written for the king of Kashmir. So one of the example of prasasti was long Sanskrit poem containing the history of king ruled over Kashmir, and it was composed by Kalhan. Kalhan composed prasasti in Sanskrit about Kashmir kings who was ruling there in Kashmir. So this is one of the example of prasasti. Grants of land. As we have just discussed about prasastis and learned Brahmins. So the Brahmins, those who were writing prasastis, they were getting rewards. And they, as the reward, they were getting grants of land. So here what is written? Kings rewarded Brahmins by grants of land. Who wrote their prasastis? Means the learned Brahmins, those who were writing in praise of the rulers, they were rewarded as grants of land. And those grants of land, they were keeping the records also. They kept the records of these rewards on copper plates. Copper plates were there on which they wrote about the person who was getting the grant of land. Means the Brahmins, those who were getting grants of land, they were getting copper plates also on which the record was mentioned. Records were written partly in Sanskrit and Tamil. Means these two languages were used there. Now we will see the picture of those copper plates. In this way the copper plates were there. The rings holding the plates together, and these plates were having royal seals. It means seals here means stamp. So royal stamp was there on these copper plates, and on these copper plates the reward of the particular learned Brahmin it was written, and in a ring they all together they were kept. And a seal means a stamp, royal stamp, in which on one side the design was present and that was imprisoned there on the seal. So this was the copper plate. Those were received by Brahmins. Those were writing in praise of different rulers. So that was all about the grants of land. Warfare for wealth. For wealth, different wars were fought among these new kingdoms. So some of the examples here we are having. During this period of time, rulers tried to demonstrate their power by building large temples. As we discussed earlier also, they were showing their power by building large temples. And whenever any of the king attacked on another's kingdom, they target the temples. So temples were targeted there because that was the rich place of a particular kingdom there. One of the best example of ruler who targeted temples, that is a Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni from Afghanistan. Here Sultan means it is Arab word. Its meaning is ruler. Ruler Mahmud of Ghazni from Afghanistan, who raided here in subcontinent many times, almost every year, and he targeted the temples of subcontinent. He looted the temples there in subcontinent. This is the best example. The warfare for wealth means for wealth, for the purpose of looting. He attacked here. He targeted the temples of subcontinent. Mahmud of Ghazni raided here almost every year, and his targets were wealthy temples including Somnath temple of Gujarat. This was the very famous temple of that time and it was having much wealth. So he targeted and he looted this Somnath temple there in Gujarat. So very good example of Mahmud Ghazni from Afghanistan, that he looted different temples in subcontinent, and the main was Somnath temple, the very famous temple of that time. And the next thing, Al-Biruni, a scholar, wrote about subcontinent. Al-Biruni, Mahmud of Ghazni asked Al-Biruni to write about subcontinent, and as he wrote in Arabic. So this Arabic work known as Kitabul Hind. The work, whatever he had written about subcontinent, the name was given Kitabul Hind. The Arabic work that was done by Al-Biruni, and the name given to that work was Kitabul Hind. So this is one of the example of a ruler who raided there on the temples. The next thing, example of war between the different kingdoms. Rulers of Gurjar Pratihara, Rashtrakuta and Pala dynasties. To control over Kannauj, they fought war. Kannauj was prized place at that time, the prosperous part, and it was located there in Ganga Valley. And all these three dynasties, they wanted to control over Kannauj at that time. And that struggle of all these dynasties was named as tripartite struggle, because three dynasties were involved. So the name given to that struggle was tripartite struggle. The next example is from Chahamanas. As we talked, Chahamanas were known as Chauhans also. So were also involved in warfare. If we talk about the war of Chauhans, the best example it was of Prithviraj III. The best known ruler was Prithviraj III. He defeated Afghan ruler Sultan Muhammad Ghori in 1191. The famous ruler of Chauhans, Prithviraj III, he defeated Afghan ruler, and name of that Afghan ruler was Muhammad Ghori. He defeated him in 1191. But what happened? Just next year, he was being defeated by Muhammad Ghori in 1192. Means in 1191 he defeated Sultan Muhammad Ghori, but in 1192 Sultan Muhammad Ghori defeated Prithviraj III. So this was the war time. This was the war that was fought by Chahamana's ruler Prithviraj III. Now the next is Chola dynasty. Chola dynasty, the very famous dynasty, they are in south part of India and the center part was Tamil. If we talk about how this Chola dynasty came in exist, so firstly that we must clear Vijaya, ancient chiefly family of Cholas. Here Vijaya, ancient chiefly family of Cholas captured Kaveri Delta from Muttarayur, and Muttarayur was subordinate or Samantas under Pallavas. So Muttarayur, who was subordinate of Pallavas, he held the power there in Kaveri Delta, and Vijaya, the chief of Chola's family, he defeated Muttarayur and captured that Kaveri Delta from Muttarayur. And then Vijaya built a town, Thanjavur, the famous town there in Tamil part. If we talk about the famous rulers of Chola dynasty, means you can say successors of Vijaya conquered neighboring regions. The successor here means the rulers after Vijaya who succeeded Vijaya. So they were successor of Vijaya. Two famous rulers were there, Rajaraja I, Rajendra I. Rajaraja I, who became king in 985, and he conquered most of the southern part and made his kingdom large. And the same policy was adopted by Rajendra I. He was son of Rajaraja I. The same policy he also gained from his father. He raided the Ganga Valley, Sri Lanka and countries of Southeast Asia. So different part he raided and captured different of the part. And even these famous rulers of Chola dynasty, they led navy expedition also to capture them. So these were the famous rulers of the Chola dynasty. Firstly, Vijaya conquered. Firstly, Vijaya was there, the chief of Cholas, and he got that Kaveri Delta from Muttarayur. Then the famous rulers were Rajaraja I and Rajendra I. They expanded their Chola dynasty. Next about the Chola dynasty is splendid temple and bronze sculpture. Two big temples were there, Thanjavur and Gangekonda Cholapuram. These two temples, they were famous for their architectural and sculpture marvel. These were two famous temples there in Chola dynasty, Thanjavur and Gangekonda Cholapuram, and they were famous for architectural and sculpture marvel there in Chola dynasty. If we talk about the bronze images of Cholas are still considered the best in the world. The best work in sculpture, that was bronze sculptures. And these bronze images, most of the images were of deities. Deities means the god to whom they were worshipping. So most of those bronze images were of their deities. So the splendid temples and bronze sculpture that was famous there of Chola dynasty. The next thing about Chola dynasty is agriculture and irrigation. If we talk about agriculture, it was developed a lot there in Chola dynasty, and the reason, the irrigation methods they started. For doing agriculture, definitely some of the tasks they had performed, like clearance of forest. They cleared forest, then they leveled land for growing crops. Rice crop grew there. Then embankment made to prevent flood. Embankment here means dams. means dams were made to prevent floods there in that area. Canal construction. Canal construction, why it was made? For the purpose of irrigation. Wells were dug. Tanks were made for the storage of rainwater. So wells were dug, tanks were made for the storage of rainwater, and these wells and tanks, they both were used for the irrigation purpose. So that different methods of irrigation they started there in agriculture. That's why agriculture developed there in Chola dynasty. This was all about agriculture and irrigation of Chola dynasty. They are in southern part of India. Types of land. From the inscriptions of Chola dynasty, different archaeologists they found different categories of land there. And what were the categories there? The first one, Velan Wagi. Velan Wagi, the land of non-Brahmin peasants. Velan Wagi was the land related to non-Brahmin peasants. The second category was Brahmadeya. Brahm that related to Brahmins, they means give. So land gifted to Brahmins, that was known as Brahmadeya. Then Shala Bhog. Shala here is related with Pathshala, or you can say school, and Bhog the part given to them. So land for maintenance of school. The category of this land, the name given Shala Bhog. Then Devadan. Dev that is related to god. Dan means gift. So land gifted to temples or gods, that was known as Deva Dan. Then Pali Chadan. Pali Chandam, that was the name given to the land that was donated to Jaina institution. Jaina here related to Jainism. So the different Jaina institutions were present. So the land donated to Jaina institution, that the name given to that land was Pali Chandam. So these were different categories of land. Those the archaeologists they found in different inscriptions of Chola dynasty. If we talk about the next administration of Cholas, means the what type of administration was there. In Chola dynasty, different type of the assemblies were present. The first one, Ur. It was settlement of peasants, and this settlement of peasant, it got prosperous after using different methods of irrigation. Means their peasants were living in the settlement of peasant was it was Ur, and it got prosperous. It was getting the wealthiest one when they started using different methods of irrigation. Next is Nadu. Group of villages formed Nadu. Means that you can say in simple language that was the group of Ur. It was supervised by Velala caste. Velala caste here, that was the different rich people. Those were included there in Velala caste, and they were having even different post also. Different work they were working there in the state. Third was Nagaram, an association of traders. And some of the titles were also provided to different landowners by rulers. One was Muvendavelan. Muvendavelan means peasants serving three kings. This was the title that was given to rich landowners. Then Urayur. Urayur means chief. That was one more title that was given to the rich landowners. So these were the different titles given to rich landowners. Next is very important, Sabha. Sabha, it was an assembly that looked after Brahmadeya. Members of Sabha were looking after irrigation work, gardens, temples, etc. In this Sabha, different members were there, different committees were there, and the procedure of electing the members of committee was the eligible members' name were written there on palm leaves, and those names, those palm leaves, then they were kept there in earthen pot, and any of the boy was asked to pick up those slips, those tickets from the pot, and whatever the name it was there on the slip, they were the members of committee. So different members were there in that the committee, those were forming sabha. So that was just like the system, the lottery system that they were using, in which what was there? They were putting different slips, different tickets there in earthen pot, and then by picking out those tickets, they were choosing, or they were selecting different members of Sabha, and different members were doing the work of looking after of irrigation work, garden, temple, even they looked after Brahmadeya. So that was the procedure, and even the procedure that they were following, and some of the condition they were fulfilling. What type of conditions were there for those committee members? They must have the knowledge of Vedas, and the second thing, they were the people, those who were submitting texts. The members of Sabha, those who were giving their names, they were giving the taxes properly to the state, to the ruler, and even before giving their names for the members, they were submitting the details of their family as well as their relatives. So these were some conditions those they were following. So this was the procedure for Sabha. The assembly that looked after Brahmadeya, members of Sabha were looking after irrigation work, gardens, temples, and different committee members were elected there. And the way was by putting the slips there in earthen pot, and then they was elected as the members. Then the decisions were recorded in detail on inscriptions. Means whatever the decisions they were taking, the members of committee, they were recorded in detail on inscriptions. So that was all about Sabha. I think you have understood now the chapter. Now let's talk about the assignment. Today's homework is assignment. Do the given assignment. The very easy assignment, it has been given here. Fill in the blanks. Many new dynasties emerged after dash century. The second is, in the mid-8th, Danti Durga, a dash chief, overthrew his Chalukya overlord. Prasastis were composed by dash. Settlements of peasants, known as dash, became prosperous with the spread of irrigation in agriculture. New kings often share power with their dash as well as with associations of dash and Brahmins. Kalhan wrote a long poem in Sanskrit containing the history of kings who ruled over dash. So these some of the blanks you will fill, and this assignment you will get on homework site. From there you can see. Answer the following question. Who wrote Kitabul Hind? The second, why are temples in Thanjavur and Gangekonda Cholapuram famous for? Why were these temples of Cholas were famous? Define Prasastis. Who was Danti Durga? How did he become a Kshatriya? Means the procedure that he had done for becoming Kshatriya, that you have to tell here. Who was Prithviraj III? Who defeated him? Why were the temples first targets for the conquerors? So these questions, the few questions I should say, you have to attempt. And this assignment you can see there on homework site of EDQuark. Now if we talk about the homework solution of previous lecture, questions were explain different categories of land in Chola dynasty. Different categories of land in Chola dynasty were Velanvagi, land of non-Brahmin peasants; Brahmadeya, land gifted to Brahmanas; Shalabhog, land for maintenance of school; Devadan, land gifted to temples; Pali Chandam, land donated to Jaina institution. Second question was, name the famous rulers of Chola dynasty. The famous rulers of Chola dynasty were Rajaraja I and his son Rajendra I. Chola dynasty that was famous in southern part of India. The third question, what kind of irrigation work were developed in the Tamil region, or you can say in Cholas dynasty. Different kinds of irrigation work were developed in Tamil region were wells were dug for irrigation, huge tanks were constructed for storing rainwater and later on it was also used for irrigation, and canal were constructed for irrigation as well. So these were the questions that I assigned to you. That's it for today. I hope you have understood the chapter now. Thank you and have a nice day.